Mr. Ehrenzeller, thank you so much that you give us the chance to conduct this interview with you. You have a really impressive academic and professional career behind you. You habilitated in 1994 at the University of Basel, and since then you had various different occupations, working for the government, doing research at the university, and also teaching public law to students. You have been a leader to many people and put leadership into practice. Right now you are the president at the University of St. Gallen and also in the board of trustees of the St. Gallen Symposium. And that brings me to my first question. Lead with the next generation in mind is the vision of the St. Gallen Symposium. We actively try to encourage leaders to consider the impact of their decisions on the generations to come. What do you think can leaders learn by being in a dialogue with the next generation?
First, thank you for the opportunity to make this interview, to think about leadership and in mind towards the future. Well, I think the post-millennials are unique in the sense they've grown up in a time as digital natives. So they had to face one of the most difficult challenges, the climate crisis. I think that is very unique. Of course, these young people, your generation, are well aware of the difficulties we face, of the obstacles, but also of the opportunities with the new technology to face these difficulties. I think that makes it very special, and we have to learn from each other. Learning process is always a two-way process. We learn from each other with our different backgrounds, cultures, and background we have from ourselves. Yeah.
And how do you personally, as a leader, try to lead with the next generation in mind?
I think as university president, as university, we have always to do our role, our function with the view to the future. We do that by designing our programs, our structures for the challenges ahead of us. So we have to look what knowledge, what skills are necessary to tackle these problems. I think that is the most important thing, to have a kind of bird's eye view to the situation, because finally it's our task to be a kind of change maker. Change maker as personalities, as individual personality, but as well a change maker from the university as such, as institution. I think that's our task for the next generation of leadership.
So you plan really in advance many years, and you also maybe try to analyze the global trends and what is like at the moment the most pressing issue or trend that you try to actively teach at the university.
Well, I think it's obvious that is all the problems around sustainability. We have the climate change that is really complex, and I think in 20 years ahead, we have to see that we have to change fundamentally our style of life. Otherwise, we will have great difficulty, I think. And at universities, well, we cannot only teach that. I think we have really to discuss and have a discourse with the young generations how we can manage that. And I think that is a real heavy task we have. I don't have the solution yet.
Yeah, for sure. So, from 1991 to 1996, you were assistant to Arnold Kollner, member of the Federal Council at the time. These were different times for sure. And what changes in leadership have you noticed from then up until now?
Well, let's say from a now outside perspective, 20 years away from my task at the Federal as a consultant of the Justice Minister, I see the principal functioning of the federal government is more or less the same. You know, we have in Switzerland this principle of concordance principle. That's our whole political system that functions as it functioned always. And we saw during the Corona crisis, the management of the Corona crisis, we saw all the pros and cons of this principle, and advantages and disadvantages. Let's say from a more deeper insight, I think it's obvious that they changed their style of managing the public sector. So the digitization made the inner decision process more simple, more effective, easier if you want. And that is one side. But on the other side, I think that didn't always make or benefit the higher quality of the deliberations and decisions, because it's very fast, the decision process. And obviously, the kind of communicate the decision of the government has changed a lot. So the way they communicate with social media, that wasn't the case 20 years ago. That is a challenge for the government representatives, because let's say the traditional journalism or the traditional media we had, they are losing a kind of weight in the public discourse. And that changed a lot, yeah. If you're asking what are my lessons for that, of course I could learn a lot. I myself had to learn how to deal with social media, to use it effectively. That is surely one lesson I had to take with me now and to learn on that. And what I learned, the importance of the communication inside the institution, so to communicate in the president's board with the deans and the schools and the institutes, and with the staff as well. And that is very important today. So they are really, you need the inner legitimation. I think that's very important for leadership. And of course, I myself learned, if I look back to the situation when I worked in Bern, I think I had become more inclusive, more collaborative in my work. That's right. I think that's necessary and it's good.
I think you really act on that as well, to be a good leader to the staff and also to the students, because at the university everyone I meet, or a lot of people told me, I met Professor Ehrenzeller today at the Mensa and he greeted me, and it really made my day, so yeah, that's really cool.
Happy to hear that.
And now, in your position as the president of the University of St. Gallen, you actively lead the next generation. And what do you think is the university's responsibility in leading the students through the pandemic?
I think we have to be aware and to learn that we all have to be active citizens. That's one is very important. If you look at our society, there is a kind of loss of cohesion in our society, in the political, the societal dialogue. So we have to learn that. And I think you're the young generation, you are really a privileged group in the society. Privileged in the sense of education. You can profit of a very excellence in education at the University of St. Gallen, and of course as a result of this education you have an opportunity for your life ahead of you. And I think that is what we have to learn, that you be aware of that. We are a privileged group, but we have as well a responsibility towards the society, not only a responsibility for our own, to have a good life and to have a good income and so on. So to know that you are really in responsibility towards the society. I think that is one of the aim we have, even part of our vision we have at the university. And I think the next generation should be aware, but she is, also I'm really convinced our young people, the big majority of students here is aware and knows that there is a need of change in our society.
Yeah, I think this really is also changing at the moment. Like students coming out of university, they really are more aware of their effect on the society. So you are in the board of trustees at the St. Gallen Symposium, and a lot of great leaders will be around at the symposium made to discuss today's most pressing issues with brilliant young minds. And in your opinion, what is the most important topic for you that has to be addressed on the 5th and 6th May?
I think in the focus for the next symposium is this kind of collaborative advantage, and especially the new societal contract. And I think that's a very good chosen topic, because really I think this kind of losing this cohesion we had in our society, in all the society, not only in Switzerland, I think we have really to discuss this kind of problem from every side. So I'm happy that the symposium still is this generation dialogue, but bringing people from everywhere together, and for 2 days really intensive dialogue, that is still one of the focus points, and let's say of the example we can give inside university and to the outside.
That is really our mission, and so it's perfect that you also give us this opportunity to discuss this with you. We are also 2 different generations, and this exchange is really what we try to drive. And to what or who do you look forward to most at the 51st St. Gallen Symposium?
Serendipity.
Serendipity?
Yeah. Of course, we're always happy to meet famous persons, personalities and so on. Yeah, that is necessary to meet important and well-known people. That's one side, but that's not the most important. I think the most important is to take use and to seize the different opportunities. They're coming just perhaps during the coffee and so on, in the breaks and so on in the evening to discuss. I think that is what I'm really expecting for me as the biggest chance. Having new ideas after that. So we should not think the symposium 2 days and then we are happy, that's Friday evening, and on Monday it goes along as it went 2 weeks ago. Exactly. We should be enriched by new ideas. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's also really our mission, to have this dialogue, and that really the leaders, also the leaders of the next generation, take this with them on the journey into the world, and then really act on the change. We also try to address this with our year-round events. Mm-hmm. We have the Global Leadership Challenge that is happening from 9th to 15th December. There is a small symposium with 100 attendees, and then we also...
This December.
This December, yeah.
Next month.
Yes, it's a collaboration with Oxford University. Mm-hmm. There will be students from all over the world, and they will also have dialogue with 100 students and 22 senior leaders. Mm-hmm. And then we also try to actively lead this dialogue year-round and not only in the symposium. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Mr. Ehrenzeller, for conducting this interview with me, and I look forward to meeting you at the 51st St. Gallen Symposium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Betschart. I'm looking forward as well to this event, and I'm grateful for this interview.
Thank you.
Gut.
Gut.
Super.
Voilà, so kommt das.
Super, so.